Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Fanny, and in today's video we're going to read bad reviews of my favorite books. So as usual, this was an idea that just popped into my head just when I was about to fall asleep. Like literally every idea I've ever had have come at that point. I am so creative right when I'm about to fall asleep, which I think I've heard something about that you're like very creative when you're just about to fall asleep. Anyways, so I came up with this idea and I was like, I literally have to do this. I'm gonna go into Goodreads, I'm gonna go to the books I've rated 5 stars, and I'm gonna read the reviews for 1-star reviews if they have, or 2, or whatever is the lowest at the book. And yeah, we'll just see. Well, so the first book that I apparently had rated 5 out of 5 stars is Gregor the Overlander, the first book of the Underland Chronicles by Suzanne Collins. This was the book series that got me into reading. I loved it so much and it will always have a special place in my heart. It's about this guy named Gregor. He's in the laundry room in their basement in their apartment where they live, and then he accidentally falls into a hole who leads to a whole other world. And me as a 11-year-old or whatever, it was 11-ish, 10, reading that, I just got mind blown and I thought it was so amazing. So I rated that book 5 out of 5 because I loved it a lot. There were quite a few people who did rate this 1 star, and I guess I could understand if you wouldn't give it a 5 out of 5 stars, since it just had such a special place in my heart and I really loved it. But I guess if it's not your type of book. But okay, so here we had someone who said this book had none of the good qualities of Suzanne Collins' other books. It clearly is written for a younger audience, which it was, so yeah, but not in a good way, which I guess I disagree on, but okay. I found the characters and dialogue annoying and one-dimensional, and the plot was unreasonably bad. Okay, but I get if you feel like the book is kind of childish, it's meant for a younger audience, as I said, and it's not in a good way. They don't really specifically say why it's not in a good way, because I really thought it was in a good way when I read it when I was 11, but okay. I'm gonna be so salty in this video, I'm sorry, but yeah. And then I found the characters and dialogue annoying, which I can't really agree on, because I love the, like, when you finish the book, you like, and the plot was unreasonably bad. Okay, that is the thing that made me most angry about, because I think the plot was great. It was a bit like, oh, what is, like, obviously that was what happened, but I don't want to spoil, but like, that is like every book, you know, you're like, oh, of course that is connected, because like, why, of course his dad is captured just by the people who murdered her mother, you know, like, it's connected in that kind of way. That was not what happened in the book, by the way, but like, it's connected in that kind of way, and I understand if you think that's kind of like not good, like unreasonably bad, according to this person, but that's in like every book. And yeah, I just thought it was a good plot. Like, it's good. They're going on this adventure, they need him, and I just really disagree. Like, why is it so bad? It's good. So yeah. Next we have a book that probably more of you know, and the book I chose was Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. This is a book that most have read or most know about or most have seen the movie and heard about. So I'm finding it very interesting for people to give it 1 star, because I freaking loved it. Okay, here we have a 1-star review. Let's just read it. How cliche can we get? The typical high school drama with no original thought. I was waiting so long for something to happen. I shouldn't have forced myself to read 3/4 of a book for the plot to finally kick into gear. I'm sorry, but I couldn't get past the Tumblr. No one calls it that. It's never been called that. Maybe her new book will be better. Maybe she advanced her writing style. We shall see. So there obviously was a lot of other reviews as well for this book. Some people discussed that they really didn't relate to Simon, and that they were LGBTQ people, and were like, it's so clear that this is written by a straight woman and not a gay teenage boy and stuff like that. And I totally understand those review to an extent type of point, and since I myself am not a teenage gay boy, I don't really want to comment on those comments because I don't really have anything to say, so therefore I chose one of the other reviews. If you wonder, it was a typical high school book, and I think that was what was so awesome about it for most people, that it didn't have to be this extra type of story. Like, he is just a normal teenager as everybody else, and I don't really agree on that it took very long for something to happen. I really enjoyed the book the whole way through. Simon was a character that I could really relate to at a lot of points, which I've not really before that book felt like I can relate to characters in different aspects and stuff like that, but I've never really felt like, oh my god, this happens to me like at the moment and stuff like that, which I thought was so good. I just thought the book was really good, and I don't really have anything more to say, to be honest. Like, it was so good and relatable and funny. So yeah, now comes the tea. Oh my god, I'm gonna check what people say about Lord of Shadows, because if you did not like that book, it's only because of the ending, and like, that book was so good. What the fuck? Oh my god, wait, someone actually, oh my god, okay, someone said Cassandra Clare has become such a sellout. TMI and TID were amazing. Shadowhunter series should have been left as it was. It had a perfect ending. This book ruined it. I love Shadowhunters, but for now it's gone too far. She needs to stop. I do not agree. Oh my god, I think that the dark artifices are the best of Cassandra's Clary's? The absolute best of Cassandra's series. It's definitely just my type of books. I relate a lot more to these characters than I did to the ones in the Mortal Instruments, and I didn't really even like the Infernal Devices. I couldn't relate to any of them, and it was just kind of sad, but I still enjoyed the books and all of that. But I so disagree. The Dark Artifices are the best books of Cassandra's books. Like, what? I'm gonna be respectful of your thoughts, but you're wrong. Next up, we have Renegades by Marissa Mayer, one of my favorite books of all time as well. I know this got some critique, but I don't understand how it can get 1 star, but let's see. Short version. Everything that made Cinder creative and memorable, the initial idea, setting, characters, and good pacing, among the tons of young adult books is absent here. Minimal plot and boring, bratty teenage characters. Read only if you really cannot get enough of the superhero genre. Oh, I don't really know what I wanted to get out of this video except me being angry, because what are you talking about? The plot is amazing, the characters are great, it's so fun to follow through the book because you have this good and evil side and you're kind of liking both, and you're like, no, this is right, no, this is right. It's hard to decide like which side you're on, because then it turns in one moment and you really like the main character, but blah blah, and it's so amazing. I love the plot. I also love the teenage characters. They're so much fun, and I love all the characters around as well. They're just great characters, and I really don't think this book has a bad plot. It has one of the greatest plots of all time. I feel like it's this undercover mission, which I love to read. I really don't know what you're talking about here. And lastly, but not least, you know I have to check the reviews for my favorite book of all time, Mistborn: The Last Empire by Brandon Sanderson. If you are new to this channel, you don't know it, but that's my favorite book out of all time, and it will be for a long time as well, but it's so good. Oh my god. Anyways, let's see what people who thought this was a 1 star said. Okay, so we have one here that it's quite long, but its first sentences are kinda what hits me in the heart. juvenile, no character development, no characters I cared about, unappealing plot, no character development. I can't speak to you on that because this is probably the book with most character development I've ever seen for one book. Like, Ben, the main character, she changes so much, and all the people in this story change a lot. I really don't understand how there is no character development, but okay. And then no characters I cared about. Totally disagree about that. I feel very, 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 very warmly about them in my heart. And unappealing plot. This is also an undercover kind of book, and as I've said, I love undercover type of books, so I disagree. So that was some of my favorite books of all time being reviewed badly. I don't really know if this will be a funny video or a good video or something like it was a good idea. I feel like I got a lot out, but I don't know if it was just like I disagree, you know, and stuff like that. So I don't know if it will be a good video in the end. I really hope so, but I'm glad you watched this whole video. If you're here, subscribe if you haven't. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Bye!